And welcome to another edition of the New Sports Outlaws podcast. I am Neil, as always. This is Danny, and we are going to go through mostly local sports and touch on across the leagues in both the sports that are in session right now. Danny, we are filming this on a day we don't usually do it because we have obligations the rest of the week. So, how are you doing, Dan?
Doing well. I think this is episode number 10. So we're in double digits. We got to double digits. So excited to do this one and many more after that. A lot of good New York sports to talk about. Mostly positive things, positive vibes going on nowadays. Let's get going.
It's a
Let's do it.
positive week. It's a positive week, and I think we're going to talk more, even though we have playoff baseball starting shortly. We're
Next.
probably going to morph into more and more football talk. So let's start with baseball and get baseball out of the way while we're both watching the Yankees as we film our podcast tonight. Um, we win one, or the Orioles lose one, and it's over, and the division is ours. I personally, one of the things I wrote down in my notes is that I really want the one seed. I don't call me scared. I don't care. I want to stay
No.
away from Houston as long as possible. Thoughts?
Yeah, no. More the one seed, meaning I think we need the home field advantage. So a lot of what was talked about, at least lately on the radio, is been about how the Yankees they dominated from those early 2000s, going from 96 to 2004, roughly. That 8 years was really a dominant time. I think they won like 6 or 7 divisions in those 8 years. And I think since, at least it doesn't include this year yet, or when we win the division, I think it's only like 3 in 11 years that we would have won the division, which is not Yankee like. And what we're always used to as Yankee fans, and what you usually see in movies, is you always see that Yankee Stadium. That Yankee Stadium's always lighting up. That you always see it from the aerial view. It's like almost like the final boss, almost like the final boss of like games. And we hear all about these fan bases. We hear about the Phillies fan base lately, since they've been in like deep in the playoffs lately. The Dodgers fan base, so it's other fan bases. But what we really haven't seen lately is a game one in the Yankee Stadium that's ALCS, even a game seven or a game five elimination series, to see that there's nothing like Yankee Stadium. And I think that home field advantage would be huge no matter who we play. Obviously Houston, I'm not really scared of them. I think it's a now or never thing. It's really a now or never thing. There's really not that one team. I don't think one team's getting 100 wins this year. I think I saw that they're not one team is getting 100 wins. And I think we're up 3 on the Guardians right now. I think we're up 3 in the loss column. So we're in the driver's seat for that. So I think number one seed has to be at the forefront, and I think it'd be very important to lock that down.
Yeah, I think the most negative I'm going to be about the Yankees or even the Mets, when we talk Mets, is talking about the fact that I'd like to stay away from Houston. If we're going to slay that dragon, slay that mental giant in our heads, that you can say that defeat us all the time. If we're going to be David to their Goliath, whatever you want to analogy you want to use, um, I'd rather wait to the end for that. But that's really the most negative I'm going to be talking about anything baseball this week. The Yankees, as of right now, have the highest run differential in Major League Baseball. They are 8-2 in their last 10. Luke Weaver looks amazing in the last 15 games. I got the numbers for you. He has a 1.02 ERA, 2-0 with 4 saves in the last 15 games. So it's all positive. We're 1 game back of the Dodgers for best record in all of baseball. 3 games up, like you said, in the loss column on Cleveland, 2.5 overall. It just, we get down to the point of I think that we can take a breath. Let's win this. Let's get this 1 game out of the way, but let's get ready for the playoffs.
Yeah, I think it doesn't matter about rest at this point because they still got to do the two. They still got to go through the wild card round, and normally at this time we would say, all right, let's get Garrett Cole set up for game one against whoever. But I think with the wild card, I don't think that really matters. But it means to get the rest. If we have to give, Stanton's been sitting out a little bit. If we have to give Stanton some rest, I wouldn't mind to give Judge a day. Maybe if we clinch everything by that last series against Pittsburgh, maybe we sit. I mean, I'm sure it depends on what he wants to do. I'm sure he's making the decision on that. But I would give
Yeah.
Judge a couple. I think he's played 150 this year. I don't know what the exact number is, but it seems like he's there every day, along with Soto. I want to say 150, 155 maybe. Um, and give some rest, maybe a little bit. Looks like Soto's maybe struggling a little bit. That's kind of my only negative. Soto's only batting 286 nowadays, when he was above 300 for the majority of the season. Um, but yeah, just about getting ready, get whatever you need to get done, and be ready for Game 1 of the DS coming.
Um, Personal opinion, just real quick before we transition over to the Mets. Who would you rather see play Baltimore? KC, the Tigers, or the Twins?
I'm assuming that I guess we don't want to face Baltimore, if that's what you're getting at.
I mean, either way, we would play Baltimore or well, whoever the winner is of the Baltimore and this team. By the way, real quick timeout. Verdugo, who's playing instead of Dominguez today, just grounded into a double play, no out, first and second.
The old ground ball to the right
Way to
side.
go! Way to sit the
It
kid who's
seems
hitting a
like
hot bat sitting
two
on
out
the
of every
bench.
three times, ground ball to the first baseman or the second baseman. And every time it's been like this for about 3 or 4 months. It's been pretty
Yeah.
bad.
So I guess
Getting back
my
to your
question to
thing.
you is,
Go ahead.
yeah, we're gonna either play Baltimore or one of these teams. So if it's gonna be Baltimore or one of these teams, what's the other team in that mix that you would like to see in there?
Well, let's see. Well, we got the Tigers and KC have the other two right now, right? The Tigers and the Royals have the other two wild card spots. The Tigers are gonna be a tough out. They have two dominant pitchers, especially in a wild card where it's only 2 out of 3. So I mean, I think anyone can take out the Orioles at this point. I mean, the Orioles are struggling. They're on the struggle bus. They've, I believe, pretty much given us the division. We thought that this series would be kind of the make it or break it for the division, and I mean, obviously it's not over yet, but still, it's looking pretty close, and any team could take them out, especially when you have pitching. I think the Tigers have a better chance than the KC does. Take them out. I know they both have really good starting pitching. KC has a better bullpen, I believe. Um, but I mean, if we're going to the better to take them out, I think the Tigers are they're trending right now. It's kind of make me nervous, a little nervous.
I think I'd personally say the Twins because if the Twins got lucky enough to
Oh
beat the
well,
Orioles,
there
there's
you
no
go.
way on God's green earth the Twins will ever beat the Yankees in any series, let alone any series
No,
that
if
matters.
it's who I want, we can put the Twins in there. We can put if the Mariners make some miracle run. I think the Mariners. I don't know how far the Mariners out, but I think it's like a miracle run to get there. Yeah.
I think they're at least three, I think, out because I looked today and like you said, KC and the Tigers are tied for the second and third wild card, and the Twins are only one game out. So that's I only included them for our conversation here. Oh, I did have one more thing for the Yankees. It's just a fait accompli, right? Cole, Heel, Rondon are your top three starters for playoffs. Maybe I said Schmidt for number four, and then put Nestor and Stroh in the bullpen, right?
I think I would want Heal at home. Oh, it's going to be at home. So yeah. So no, I was thinking on the road. But yeah, we need Heal at home. I would say if it was a different series, I'd say Rodon number 2. But I think having Heal at home is a big one for him, just because he's a younger guy. Yeah, I agree. So in other words, I agree. Yeah,
I mean,
Cole,
what I was
Heal.
thinking, what I was thinking was Heel's been your second best pitcher anyway, and I actually would be more confident in Rondon taking the ball maybe
That
in a different ballpark, one
no,
not as friendly to the home run.
yeah, no, I agree with you on that. Yeah, Heal, Rodon, and then bullpen, and yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay. Let's transition over to the Schmetzies, and I will 100% admit I thought that they would be good down the stretch. I didn't think they'd be good enough, and they've been even better than than they needed to be. Like only if you were to talk to a Met fan, I don't know, 3 weeks ago, and they were teetering on in and out of the playoffs, out by 2 games, and those types of numbers. If you would have told them, hey, you're going to go into that Atlanta series, weather be damned, and you're going to have a 2 game lead on them going into that series, I don't think any Met fan would have believed you.
I think being in the Met mindset that we hear, at least on the radio and TV every day, everyone just, all right, it's about like something's bound to happen that's bad. Like they were bound to have a rough patch, and they haven't. It seemed like every time they've lost one, they have bounced back. 3 out of 4 against the Phillies is big deal, especially when they were still playing for a division and they're playing for best record. So it's not like they're not playing. Um, Edwin Diaz 6-out save on this past Sunday, big six. I mean, they're not. There's not really, especially with Lindor out. Lindor, we and then we all thought last week, oh, Lindor's out. Here we go. Like maybe, and then all of a sudden they took the series before the Phillies. I forgot. I think the Nats. They swept the Nats, and they took 3 out of 4 against Philly. And this game, actually, I know we were talking about Hurricane for a second ago in Atlanta. It's a sneaky big game because they don't know what they're doing with tomorrow and Thursday's game, and it's supposed to be really bad weather. Baseball didn't really do too much in kind of looking in the future, where they both had off days yesterday. So they didn't do too well with that. But I think it's kind of sneaky big for both teams because the Braves could either be 3 out going into this uncertain weather, or they could be 1 out. So it's a sneaky big
Well,
game. I know they're up right now, but sneaky big game for them.
I just switched the channel as you were talking about your opinion on the Mets, and the Mets just gave up another homer to Ozuna, so now it's 5-0. So yeah, that weather looks terrible. I was listening to Evan and Tiki, and they were saying the same thing that you were just saying, that MLB looks like they're caught with their pants down. Like both these teams had off day yesterday. You could have adjusted and did a doubleheader yesterday or a doubleheader today, and at least gotten 2 games in. Now you may be looking at the fact that you're gonna have to play a doubleheader between the Mets and the Braves after the season is over to determine who is going to be the wild card. Because if the Braves win this one, then it's down to one. Who knows what happens with the Mets in Milwaukee? Milwaukee, are they going to really be playing for that series? They're not really playing for anything, and they could face the Mets theoretically in the first
Have
round.
they
In
pretty
that
much
first
has
round,
Milwaukee pretty much clinched?
yeah. And
They've
I
clinched,
don't, I gotta double check
or is
again.
it
I
not
don't think
official yet? But it's
mathematically
officially not official.
I think no, they clinched. I think they're 9 games up in their division,
They
but
are. I
I
didn't.
just don't think they can catch the Dodgers. I think I was trying to see if they can catch the Dodgers for best record or for seeding purposes, but are they gonna have pedal to the metal if they have nothing to play for?
Yeah, I mean, I guess if that's you got to see how much the 2 seed, because that 2 seed gets a bye. That 3 seed still has to play the 2 out of 3. So
Yeah, I don't know. I know the Phillies and the Dodgers are like a half game apart, and then Milwaukee was several games behind them. So,
gotcha.
uh, quick note, quick notes on the Mets. 7-3 in the last 10. They lead all of baseball since June 1st. They are the hottest team in Major League Baseball. Um, Diaz, the last 7 games, looks like he is refound his inner Edwin Diaz. He's got a 1.23 ERA with 4 saves. And if I'm the Mets, I would prefer to play the Padres, I think, in that first round. But, they got to get in first. Losing tonight to the Braves is going to take a big hit to their playoff lives.
Yeah, it doesn't help. But when playing like the Mets right now, you really wouldn't be afraid to play anybody, and I think the other team would try to be avoiding the Mets. Like I don't think the Brewers want to. I don't think anybody would really want to play the Mets right now. They're just something about them right now. It's not one guy. They just keep going. Whether it's Vientos, whether it's Nimmo, whether it's Alvarez, who had a couple of big hits against Philly, Alonso. It's somebody. Acuna looks really good. Acuna is hitting the ball. I think he has 2 or 3 home runs. They
Yeah.
Metsies look good.
Yep. All
Kudos
right,
to them.
quick update before we move over to football. The Yankees are losing 2-1. Top six. Baltimore is batting with 1 out. Okay. So our transition to football here, Dan. If you don't mind, I'm gonna go just across the league before we hone in on the local teams here. I have a little. I thought what I believed was the most interesting takeaway from each division. A little headline from each division. We could probably talk about it for about 30 seconds to a minute. But in the AFC East, my question was can Josh Allen carry them with all that they lost in the offseason? And I know you're hoping so because your prediction stated that Josh Allen would be the MVP of the NFL. So what do you think about that?
I think he's benefiting from not having the diva Steph Diggs in there, and he's definitely taking control of the offense. I think he only have one turnover this year, which is not Josh Allen like. Normally he's doing his thing with rushing yards, passing yards, slinging it, but he always has a few turnovers in there. He's not turned the ball over, and they've
Yeah.
only played real quick. Yeah, no, they've only played like bad competition for now. I think the next 3 weeks they have some tougher competition. They have the Jets in a few weeks, but he's looking good right now.
They also have, I believe they have I think they have
Well,
Baltimore
that's what it
at
is.
one
I think
point
it's the
coming up
primetime
soon
game this Sunday night.
on a Thursday on a Thursday night. They have an Amazon Prime game against Baltimore. Okay. Yeah, I believe they're good. I didn't believe they were going to be this good, but the difference is he's taking care of the ball this year. He turned the ball over a lot last year, and this year he looks like he's taking care of the ball. I think there is something to be said to what you said about not having a diva on the outside screaming and yelling every series, get me the ball, get me the ball, get me the ball. Now he's just got a couple vets and a couple kids. He's going to utilize Cook a lot more, which I did anticipate why when we did our fantasy rankings, I had Cook so high. Yeah, I think he's got all the tools to do it. Let's see though, because I still think that the Jets win that division, and Baltimore just hit a home run, 3-1 Baltimore. Um, okay. Next, AFC North. Fields. He's got to stay, right? I mean, until he would have, for me, he'd have to struggle more than one game for me to make the move to Russell, even when Russell's healthy.
Well, the thing is, he's gotten better too. It's not like he's gotten worse at turnovers. Last week against the Chargers was his best game of the year so far. I think he went 25-32 for 245, couple of touchdowns, rushing and passing. I would say. Um, yeah, no, you can't. How can you? You're 3-0 in the division, and 3-0 in the tough division. So that's kind of down with the Bengals being 0-3 and Ravens being 1-2, and the Browns being. Did the Browns even win a game yet, or are they 0-3 as well? Or are they 1-2?
Now they won a game. Remember
They
they beat
they
they beat Dallas?
week two. It
No.
had to be week two because Dallas beat them
Me
week
too.
one, and the
Oh
Giants just
yeah,
beat
they
them.
lost. Yeah,
Whoever
yeah, yeah.
I
They
don't
won
remember.
me too.
Maybe the Bears actually. Whatever. I think it might have been the Bears actually. Anyway, yeah, no, you can't. It seems like the team's playing for them. The defense is carrying, and Field is playing well, and they got a nice matchup against Anthony Richardson for fantasy purposes.
Yeah.
For me, that's important for me fantasy purposes. But yeah, playing well.
Okay. Next, Texans. Are we concerned with the? And now listen, their division's atrocious, and they might be able to crawl their way to another division title. So it's not worrying to that nature where they're not going to be in it later on. But should we take some worry from this? We're not going to talk about the Vikings yet. I have them later on, but do we worry about how bad they got their butts kicked?
Not at this one game. You're not gonna win them all. I know they were heavy favorites. And maybe the Vikings. We'll talk about the Vikings in a second, and maybe the Vikings are a lot better than we thought. But it's
Yeah.
it's one game. There's a lot of struggling teams out there, including the 49ers. Not sure if we're getting into them, but yep.
Okay. So I don't know if there's anything else to talk about in the AFC West except for does Kansas City get every single call when the game is on? Are they going to continue to get every single call when the game's online? It's
Maybe,
absurd.
maybe it's a lot. Did you? I'm assuming you
I
saw that one play then. I'm
I
assuming you saw that
I
one play
finally
in the end zone. Yeah.
made sure I watched it because I fell asleep, and then my father goes to me, "Was there a controversial play?" I'm like, "I didn't hear anything." And listening to New York sports radio, I didn't hear them mention it, but I could
Yeah.
have just missed it. But and then I finally went back when our friend Rocco put it up in the text chat. I finally went back and said, "Oh, I got to find out what they're talking about," and I feel like he gets every call that's a 50-50 call. Oh, Mahomes on that side. We're gonna go on the side that has Mahomes.
I can't not say anything but that. I mean, it's Yeah, no, they got a call on that game against Cincinnati. I mean, again, that was pass interference. So it's not like I'm not, they just got the call. We just see too many times where that call doesn't happen. And we just kind of like, oh, Mahomes. But then we see something like last week against Atlanta in a key situation where it's definitely pass interference on KC and it's not called. So we always say if the roles were switched, maybe that would have been called. But
Yep.
yeah, it seems like they have all the momentum right now in the year of the NFL.
Yeah. It feels like they have the NFL and the refs in their pocket. Anyway, and I'm not a Mahomes hater. I like him. I don't love Kelsey all that much, but the rest of them I like. I like him, and I just think that they get every side a 50-50 call. But moving on to the NFC East, I don't think Philly has anything to worry about. I'm higher on your Dallas Cowboys than you are. But I don't believe Philly has anything to worry about except for themselves, except for their quarterback. Can they get their wide receivers healthy? Devontae Smith took a shot that I was like, is he alive? Uh, in the game the other night, and AJ Brown has still yet to play. Saquon is a beast, but I think if they're going to be successful long term, Hurts has got to be more careful with the ball, and they got to get their wide receivers healthy.
I don't think the Eagles have anything to worry about. I don't think they're that good either. I just think that it's going to be one of those teams that I think the Giants are obviously not great. The Cowboys definitely aren't great. And the Commanders, again, they have a good quarterback coming up. They got their second win. So they're looking all right. But I think they'll be a 500 team roughly. I think this division's only going to take 10 wins to win it. And a game that against the Saints, you would think that was a lot more high scoring. Not Barkley kind of saved the day for them. And I think they'll back into that division.
No, you're right. I agree. I'm just thinking more long term with them is that the rest, San Fran is banged up. I get it. But Detroit doesn't look as powerful as everybody thought they'd be. San Fran's definitely not as powerful as everybody thought they'd be. I mean,
It's really
one of
only
these teams, one of these teams is going to have to trip into winning the NFC. And honestly, I think Philly has looked the best out of all those teams, with the exception of their quarterback. Sometimes looks bad, and then other times he looks like, oh, who do you stop? Do you stop him? Do you stop Barkley? He can run, he can throw. Barkley's a beast. And so when they're clicking on all those cylinders, I absolutely think they have a shot that they could win the NFC.
Yeah,
But
no, you're right. I mean, again, with that now looking great between the 49ers, the Lions, the Cowboys, the Packers, who haven't got Jordan Love back yet. Yeah, besides the Vikings, who have obviously looked far and away the best team so far. Yeah, you're right. With the Eagles, I mean, definitely if they get their receivers back, I still think their defense is a little suspect. But if they get their offense going, yeah, right now, I guess they could be the second best, maybe third best team right now in the NFC.
yeah, and we're going to go right from you mentioning the Vikings to the question of the NFC North. Buying on Sam Darnold. There was great word from San Fran when he went and backed up out there for Purdy last year. They loved him. Belichick sang his praises. I heard today on the radio he was talking. Everyone loves Sam Darnold except for the Jets. I
Yeah,
mean, he was a little younger then, but are we buying in on him? I have the fact that he's only 27 years old. He's the same age as Tua, Herbert, and Hurts, and I'm sorry, he's a year older than Tua, Herbert, and Hurts, and he's the same age as Lamar, Danny Dimes, Kyler Murray, and Joe Burrow. So I mean, I think of Herbert, and I think, oh my God, he's so young. Hurts, oh, he's so young. Tua's only been a couple years, but yet Sam Darnold, I listen to and think, oh my God, it feels like Sam Darnold's been in the league for over a decade.
you would think so. And I think Kevin O'Connell, has done a hell of a job over there. Seems like any quarterback that they get, what did you say?
I think a
Um,
whisper. I was trying to think whisper, quarterback whisper.
uh, he's yeah, he whatever he touches turning well. I remember last year when they lost Kirk Cousins, they got Joshua Dobbs off the scrap heap, and he won a couple games for them before they kind of flamed out eventually.
Yeah.
Um, Kirk Cousins obviously got a big contract because of how well he played with Minnesota. It seems like they got the right guy down there, and he's doing really well. And maybe he's unlocked something with Sam. And like you said, other organizations loved what Sam did, including Carolina, including San Francisco. And maybe he just needed some time, just like all these other young quarterbacks that are kind of getting benched now, like the Bryce Youngs of the world. That these quarterbacks need time nowadays. It's very complex, these offenses, and it's nothing like college. And Caleb Williams is figuring that out right now. But yeah, I'm a
Yep.
believer right now. I'm a believer right now. Why not?
So let's see who you believe in here. Our next division has these four quarterbacks. Tell me who's the best quarterback in this division. Kirk Cousins, Baker Mayfield, is it it's Derek Carr, right? Or no, that's his brother.
It's not that.
David Carr,
Yeah, it's not David. It's Derek. Yeah,
David Carr, or Andy
Derek.
Dalton.
Derek Carr. Um, I'm sure I'm with Kirk. He's looking better and better every week. Again, it was a tough one with Casey over this past Monday Night Football. Or Sunday night. Sorry, Sunday night. And I think that as time goes on, he'll get healthier, and his rapport with Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson will get a lot better. Even though Andy Dalton did look really impressive in his game against Tampa. It was Tampa. Was it? No, Vegas Raiders. Where they
Yep,
pretty much dominated the
Raiders.
Vegas Raiders, who have a pretty good defense. At least defensive line. But in terms of one, I'm picking Kirky for now.
Yep, I would agree. But I mean, Carr has, even though they lost that game, he had them in position to win that game against Philadelphia too. Maybe it's time I start giving him a little respect and thinking that he could
Whoa.
help them.
Whoa.
Uh,
Are you
yeah,
giving
no, I
respect
mean,
to Derek Carr?
it,
Whoa.
it, yeah, I mean, he looks
2652
good.
in. All right, 2652. Let's jot that down. Derek Carr. Okay, go. All right,
Respect
good. I love it.
Derek
Keep
Carr.
going. I love it.
And then my last one, I think if Seattle thinks they're good enough to win this division, which I don't think they are, because I'm not a believer in
No.
Geno Smith. I get that he had a reclamation project out there, and he has been much better than he ever was when he was with the Jets or when he was the backup in New York for the Giants. But if they have any visions on winning this division, they need to put as much distance between them and San Fran before San Fran gets running. Because I think once San Fran gets rolling and start getting their people back from injury, I believe that they're going to come like a freight train. So put yourself 3, 4 games apart from them and see if you can hold on for dear life.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. San Fran's down right now. They obviously kind of just collapsed versus the Rams. Um, the Rams are banged up just as much as San Fran is. But I think we still know San Fran is the class of that division. And even though the Cardinals are kind of Kyler Murray's on the up and up a little bit, I know they kind of struggled last game. Rams are still, I think they're still very mediocre. And I think the Seahawks are very mediocre too. I think 49ers, again, they'll get rolling a little bit. Usually they say the first month is preseason. Give them some time. I think they'll come out of that division.
All right, so I guess we can just combo this next little mini segment here as a Giants and Cowboys mini segment, considering that Thursday will be the Amazon Prime game of Dak Prescott leading the Dallas Cowboys into MetLife Stadium to face Daniel Dimes and the New York Football Giants. I'm going to turn the floor over to you. But before I do, I'm going to tell you that I am 100% when we do our picks in 2 days. We'll be taking the Dallas Cowboys and I will be laying the points.
What? All right.
100%.
So, I mean, the last thing, I really haven't heard a lot of Cowboys talk after this past Sunday. But if we just look at Dak Prescott's stats, you would think he had a decent game. I think he ended up throwing for like 380 yards and he had a couple touchdowns. It was another classic, kind of like when they got destroyed by Green Bay last year. It was another classic. Let's look like bums for the first 3 quarters, and the other team is going to play cover two or two high safeties and just let you get underneath passes the whole time, and that's what happens, and that's what he stat padded last game. And yes, they almost came back and they had a chance if their defense was any good, but their defense sucks too. They can't rush the passer. Their linebackers are weak. Trayvon Diggs is still coming back from injury. Deron Bland is injured. Their safeties are young. It's going to be a high-scoring game on Thursday. It's going to be. Malik Neighbors is going to shred up that defense. And I have no idea who I am picking. You can go ahead.
No, I was saying your lips, God's ears.
It's going to. It's going to be
I have
high
neighbors in
scoring.
2 of my 3 fantasy leagues. Let's go.
It's just
Um,
I mean, last thing really quick. And just being the Cowboys have also feasted on their defense always being pretty good. And then Dak and them will just they're the biggest front runners in the league. Biggest front runners. When they get ahead, they are out. They're done. Dak is looking great. CD's looking great. Everything's looking like sunshine and rainbows. But then when their defense doesn't look good, like the last 2 weeks, when they've gotten absolutely shredded by the Saints and the Ravens, and their offense is not that good. Their offense still is what? They got CD and Dak, and that's it. They got a lot of holes. It could fall apart really quick with a nice Giants, win.
yeah,
And
I get
McCarthy.
you, but all I'm gonna say is the reason I don't think the Giants will have as much success against Dallas as they did against Cleveland is because twofold. One, your offensive line is might not be what it used to be, but it is better than Cleveland's offensive line. And even if the
Yeah.
Giants can get to, and even if the Giants can get to Dak, Dak is not as stupid as Deshaun Watson. He may make mistakes, but he is not going to make the mistakes, and he's not going to underthrow the ball, overthrow the ball, or put himself in harm's way like Watson did last week against the Giants.
Yeah, no, the Dallas and the Giants got their one win against the Cleveland Browns. Thank you, Cleveland, for having Deshaun Watson. Um, yeah, no, I agree with you. I think it's gonna be a high scoring game. I think that Daniel Jones has looked better and better, and they're force feeding neighbors, and that's what they should do because he is their star, as you said earlier in earlier podcast.
So just a quick note about that, since you said neighbor's name again. I wrote down today when I was what I wanted to talk about when I talked about the Giants. The Giants need to force teams to double and triple neighbors. Then you can use guys like Wandell and Hyatt, but force teams to feed him in the game. If they're just going one guy on him, you keep feeding him till they force a second guy over there, and then you loosen up the defense for the other guys. And I think Devin Singletary needs to call Tiki Barber to get some tips on how to hold the ball. Because if I have to watch him fumble the ball once a game, the kid Tracy's going to have a bigger role as these games go on.
Yeah, that's I'm sure Dayball doesn't like that. I'm sure he was thinking like this wasn't the Singletary that I saw in Buffalo. You thought at least he would be that guy that could at least be steady and not really have that breakout run really, but just keep grinding out 3-4 yards every time. And he's had a couple fumbles. Yeah, he definitely can't fumble the ball. Otherwise, he's gonna sit the bench. He's not
And
good enough.
before we move to the Jets, keep in mind when you start researching and thinking what your picks are going to be tomorrow and into Thursday, the Dallas Cowboys usually play phenomenally in MetLife Stadium. So
Yeah,
keep that in
no,
mind.
I know. I'm aware. I think it's 11 out of 12 or something like that. I think they have
Yep.
Cowboys over
And
Giants.
I think last year was what 40-0. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
week
that was
one.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember.
All right, so we'll do the Jets in a minute or two here. I think the offense is looking more and more comfortable. Like you said, even about Kirk Cousins, Rodgers, an older type quarterback coming back from injury. I think every week you see him look more and more like the old Aaron Rodgers. Is he going to be 3 years ago's MVP Aaron Rodgers? No. But like I think I said to you guys in our text group, and I talk to you guys when we have our drafts and stuff like that, our fantasy drafts. If Aaron Rodgers could be 75% of the Aaron Rodgers from his MVP season, that'll be the best quarterback the Jets have had since Vinny Testaverde. It's not even close.
It was really good to see him on the move. That was really the big thing with him. Is he going to be a statue or is he going to be able to roll out? and make those passes that we still know he can make. He can definitely still sling the ball. But to see him on the move like he was against New England was very good for the Jets, at least for their hopes for the future. He definitely looked in control, and that game was over early. They definitely shut down Ramondre Stevenson, Patriots running back, and he was done. He wasn't even in that game. But he looked fully in control. He definitely spread the ball around. But we'll see how it goes. We're not sure if it's more New England coming back down to earth after first couple of successful weeks, or is that the kind of the Jets and we're going to expect? Because it was very good for them to have a week like that, and hopefully they can carry that into next week.
Yeah, I think I'm starting to come around. Before this week, I was starting to come around to what you had said, and I know I think Sal said on the radio that the Jet. I think it was Sal. He said the Jet defense is just a little overrated, but I do think they are strong enough that if Rodgers is going to get them a touchdown, a 10-point, a 14-point lead, they're not going to give it up. They're going to wrestle. They're going to wrestle that game away. So if Rodgers can get them anywhere from a 10 to 14-point lead in every game, I think the Jets are going to win a lot of games.
Yeah, no, they're not. They're good. I just don't think they're top three, top two, not even really top five. Maybe that's on the outskirts of that. But no, they're a good defense. They're really
Yeah.
solid and they're good. And Aaron Rodgers is a good enough quarterback to make them really good as a team.
Yep. So we are going to continue this. We're going to do our picks Thursday this week again because the Giants are playing Thursday against Dallas, so we might as well do all four of our picks. So we will take care of that at some point on Thursday, and then hopefully we'll be able to get a trivia out for anybody that's has been keeping watching us. We like to do those; those are fun. We try to get those in 90 seconds, so it's nice and quick. We like to do this long form stuff. If you're watching and if you watch this long, Danny's going to have some advice for you. Please follow it and help us out.
Yeah, so this week we actually did get some new followers on IG, so that was good. But yeah, keep making sure to like, subscribe, IG, X, YouTube, anything like that. Please comment on topics that we could talk about, or maybe if you have any opinions on anything that we've talked about, or any opinions in general on Jets Giants that we definitely could bring up. All right, keep continuing to follow us, like us, keep watching. We're going to have a lot more stuff going on. We're going to get a lot more segments in there as we get more episodes in. So continue to be with us. We love doing this. This is fun for us. We enjoy you watching us, and we hope you continue. So until next time, I'm Danny. This is Neil. Signing off.